Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 145 Booth Podcast. We are happy to have you with us, and I hope that the conversations that we've been having so far are actually helping you and actually opening up conversations that are going to continue helping us in our daily lives as creatives. Yes, we have a lot going on around our lives, but we can do this together, right? We can do this together. That's why the 145 Booth is here for your safe space, for you to understand more about mental health among creatives. And today I have a guest with me, and his name is Jackson Anduuru. I know he is a musician, and that's all I know, at least for now, or what you know. I know a lot about him, but I want to give him this opportunity to tell us more about who he is. And yeah, Jackson.
Yes.
Karibu to the 145 Booth.
Asante Sanna.
Please tell us more about yourself, because as I usually tell guests, I don't know how to introduce you in the best way. I know what you do. I know you've told me, but I always allow yourselves to tell us what you do in every light and in every clarity. So karibu sana to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so tell us about yourself.
Jackson is, in his simplest form, is just a jack of many trades, pun intended. I primarily am a saxophonist, stroke entertainer. I also am a registered realtor, and I'm also an IT consultant.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there maybe if maybe you can tell us more about the IT and the realtor, right?
Yes.
How does that combine with you being a musician?
Any performer will tell you the arts tend to open other doors.
Yeah.
And it puts you in other spaces with people who deal in different fields and different backgrounds. For example, if you were to be performing at a company that's launching several IT products, now how you get to be in that space with those IT professionals, what took you there is not your IT qualification, but rather your artistic talent, which now has opened a door where you can interact with these guys on a different scale, but a scale where you're also familiar and you're comfortable with. The same for being in the real estate space. You go and perform at a client's event or at a client's house, then they also make it known that they're selling the property, and it gives you a chance to interact with him. Then you market the property, you make a commission from it. So the entertainment and the music side also help opens doors. So that's the way I tend to look at it.
Yeah. Do you think you being a realtor and you being an IT consultant has actually helped you become a better creative, or is it the other way around?
I think they play off each other. There are times when you try and do a real estate event and your head is like, how can I make this? For example, a house showing, how can I make it more interesting?
Yeah.
And then you bring in the music aspect of it, or a small entertainment. If it's an open showing, people are finding a sax player there, makes the mood more chilled out, more relaxing.
Yeah.
And they can kind of see themselves in a different environment. It creates a mood, creates a space where they can feel like they're being both entertained and where a relaxing environment. And then there are times when you bring the professionalism you may be using in the other fields to your music side, where you may be a bit more lax. You may tend to be, for example, you may tend to dress very formally when you're doing. And so you need to have a suit or tie when you're in the real estate space. And this can also carry over into like when you're doing your music side, because some settings require a suit and a tie. And you bring in that professionalism as well into that field. So I tend to think you just borrow from whenever the situation fits.
Yeah. So maybe this is the case of favorite son, favorite daughter. Do you have a favorite out of all the three?
And
why, if you do?
Here's the problem. As in, all of them have their challenges. I would say the most stressful of all of them is probably the IT consulting, because some of those problems tend to be a bit more technical. The real estate one tends to that child requires patience and understanding. The music is a child who brings peace to your soul. So it's like having three different children. Do I have a favorite? I just say one gives you more blood pressure than the rest. and sometimes that would tend to be the real estate side. But like all parents, you quickly learn how to manage your children. Yes.
It's true. Do you feel like you have an advantage that you can be able to run to music as a creative? To relax maybe by the end of the day? Do you practice? Does that make you relaxed?
No, this is the thing with music as well. You do have, remember that you're dealing with human beings.
Yes, we are.
Human beings have a tendency to push the limits and the boundaries.
Yes, we do.
In every field.
Yes.
So whereas a job would be meant to be your safe space, your client decides that no, I am going to be the terror that stalks you in the night and make what's meant to be enjoyable for you extremely difficult.
Yeah.
So you could imagine you have a day whereby everything has just been stressful and you think, I'm going to go and relax playing this gig. And when you get there, in fact, now this guy decided to amp things up to another level.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it is a safe space. It is a place where I feel most comfortable because it's an environment I've become accustomed to for over 20 years. But it's also a place where other people, the encroachment of others, leads to make it can make it a difficult space to be in.
Yeah, and is it's interesting how other professions, and I think I have said this in every episode, other professions will run to us when they need to chill out.
Exactly.
For us, we're either running to ourselves or you're just, and especially when you're coming from a gig and you get into a car, the first thing you want to do is switch off the music, right? Like you don't want to hear more.
In fact, sometimes even if it's your own voice, you don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear it.
Yes.
And even when someone recorded you and put you on social media and you see it, you're like, this is too much pressure.
Yes.
Why do you think that's so? Because it should be giving us, because as you said, sometimes music can be a job other than the safe space that everyone else runs to.
Yes.
Why do you think that's the case? Because it should give us more of a safe space than the person who's taking it first because we had it first.
Yes.
Why do you think that's not the case?
Sometimes I think it's what I like to call sensory overload. If you spend your entire day listening to yourself over and over again, even you get tired.
You get tired of yourself.
You get tired of yourself.
Yeah.
That's number one. And then number two, I think sometimes what we are relating to as our getaway from, sometimes we want total disassociation from the thing that we love the most because even it is not helping me right now. When you look at, for example, you, like I just said, you if you have the misfortune or the fortune, depending on how you look at it, to perform 3 times in one day, by the third gig, you're not even thinking about the music. You're on autopilot. My idea is, let me get this done. I get paid. I go home. I go sleep. I think it's largely that we sometimes get caught up in the runnings of life. We want to achieve things and we push ourselves to a point whereby we even go above and beyond our boundaries. And then now we don't know when to stop.
We don't know when to stop.
And actually it boils down not knowing when to stop and say, you know what, this is enough for me. If I do any more, I'm going to it's going to be rather destructive rather than progressive. And that's why sometimes even when you'll be doing those things and you push yourself to beyond that level, when you're performing the third gig, those who are around you can tell, oh, this guy is not executing the breaks as effective as he's not coming in with the solos when he's supposed to. You yourself start thinking, hey, by the way, something is a bit off. And it's because you're just genuinely tired and fatigued.
Do you think at that point we can go with what people say, that if you find your passion, then you will never have to work a day in your life? Is that true?
Everything has a price. It doesn't matter whether it's something you love or whether it's a passion. There's always going to be a cost to everything. The only question you ask yourself is, and if I remember, these terms used to be given in university and high school about business cost, cost benefit analysis.
Yes, benefit analysis.
Cost benefit analysis. At the end of the day, what are you getting in from the work you're putting in? And if it's not beneficial to you, then why are you still putting in? If you're constantly making losses, whether it's emotional, physical, mental, spiritual losses from this, then is it really a passion? Is it a passion worth pursuing? Because at the end of the day, you're always going to be at a negative and never a positive. So if you're never growing from it in any way, shape or form, aren't you just leading yourself down a dark alley and eventually mugging yourself and ensuring that you're not in a position whereby you can actually say, by the way, I'm growing from this. So basically if it takes away your sanity, you back off. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So when we invited you to the 145 booth,
yes,
as a musician,
yes,
I know you know the question I'm about to ask you. What came to your mind when you saw the digits 145?
Chord progression. It is. I think it is one of the most basic chord progressions. If you go to church, the song is in 1-4-5.
Hey.
So when I saw 1-4-5, I just started laughing, and I said, okay, yeah, interesting. Very, very, very creative, very basic, but very creative at the same time. Yeah. So that's what came to mind.
What did it suggest to you in terms of being a musician? Because honestly, as we've explained before in other episodes as well, if anyone comes and tells you you're a 1-4-5 chord progression kind of a guy, or if you're a 1-3-5 harmony, basically they're telling you you're too simple.
Yes.
Yeah. So what does it mean for you in terms of the mental health category when we say we are going back to the basics? We're basically going 1-4-5 on the basics.
There is always comfort in familiarity. And there's always comfort in the things that we call our safe spaces.
Yeah.
Give a person an opportunity to be in a place where he's comfortable, he'll pick that over an uncomfortable situation.
True.
9 out of 10 times. Unless maybe the uncomfortable situation is paying him 10 times more.
10 times more.
So if there's nothing to make you move from your safe space, you would tend to prefer to always go back to the same safe space. So sometimes it is good when someone says, you know what, it's okay. Me, I don't mind being a 1-4-5 or a 1-3-5.
1-3-5, harmony person.
Yes, harmony person. But just to throw a spanner on the works in that ideology, 1-3-5-8 is a perfect harmony.
Come on now.
But if you do 1-3-5-7, it sounds a bit, we used to call it, I know they are plagal and something, I've forgotten my musical terms. Rudiments of music theory, sorry. So the plagal and then there's a complete chord. But 1-3-5-7 sounds incomplete in itself. So if someone says that you're that kind of person, may I just perceive that he says I'm reliable, dependable, and he knows what he's getting from the word go. But always allowing me, just being a creative, that I might just pull a surprise on him somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah.
Just diminish or augment one of those 3-5s there, just to shock him kidogo.
Just to shock them kidogo.
Yes.
But the thing is, you know the basics.
Yes.
Like you know the basics. Like I will have to build from 1, 4, and 5. I'll have to build from 1, 3, and 5. It's just the basic way of doing harmonies. It's the basic way of creating chord progression.
Very true.
All right. So with that, what is mental health according to you?
I think the biggest challenge we face is trying to define something, a term that I think a lot of people, it's a phrase that has been used to try and understand something that is really difficult to define.
Difficult to define, yes.
I think my understanding of having mental health is deciding whether the challenges that you are facing are then dictating who you are, or you're then dictating how you handle the challenges that you face. I think for me that's the way I break it down so that I understand it. Yeah.
Do you think mental health is can be compared to physical health?
It is part and parcel. It's intrinsic. They say to be perfect you have to be mentally, spiritually, and emotionally and physically strong, all of them, or in tune with each other. The thing we only have to realize is that we can't always be perfect, number one.
Can't.
And accepting that even in my imperfection, I am able to execute and do the things I need to do. But also accepting that there are things and whatever that will always be beyond you.
Yes.
And being comfortable with the fact that it always leaves room for improvement.
It does.
And it should not be a detraction from who you are, but rather it shows you where you need to work more on, what you need to build up on, and so that you can be a better version of yourself.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I like how you've said that a whole person is spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically well.
Yes.
But I feel like we are told more about the physical health.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to check your blood pressure. You have to check your sugar. You have to check your immunity system.
Yes.
About your spiritual, churches are all over the place.
Yes.
So we know much about that.
Yes.
But I feel like the emotional and the mental state of mind is not really much spoken about. Yet it is a part of who we need to be whole.
Yes.
So everywhere you go, it's probably, I am doing very well.
Yes.
I have a very good career.
Yes.
I am making good money.
Yes.
I am making good money for my family as well. I have my Bible with me. I can even tell you Job chapter, this and this and this says this and this and that. Do you feel like that little middle point of the emotional and the mental part of our lives not being catered to, do you feel like it has affected you personally? Because it's something that we started talking about mental health not too long ago. Yeah, and it has been existing there. It has been there, but maybe coming from a younger age, we've been told jikaze kimwanaume, jikaze kisabuni, and especially for you guys, do you think it has affected how you have approached your life? And especially in your creativity?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think if you are raised in the African continent, there's a tendency that there's no such thing as a mental illness.
No, why?
It's either an evil spirit or you just need to figure yourself out.
Yeah, so the mental has been taken into the spiritual.
As in it's not a problem. It's not a tangible problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a wound or a leg or a cut. You're not bleeding to death.
You're not bleeding to
you
death.
You just have one or two issues that you need to discuss. And then also, who are you going to discuss them with? Because men don't cry, and we find ways to handle our problems.
Yeah.
So from a creative standpoint, I look at it that each and every person is a human being. Each and every person meets challenges. Each and every one. Whether you are the cleaner on the stairs, whether you're the watchman at the gate, whether you are the best songwriter in the world. When I say case in point, in one year you can find there's an artist who is selling millions of albums, record deals, is making more money than he knows what to do with, still takes drugs and commits suicide. In the same breath, a guy who's tried every avenue possible, every methodology possible to make it in the industry, still takes the same route to deal with whatever he's going through. So here you have both sides of the divide, both extremes, success and not as successful as he would like, and they both decide to exit the stage in that manner. It tells you that the underlying problem is normally not the accomplishment of the success. There is something else that is challenging and pushing these guys beyond a certain boundary. Beyond certain limitations. I tell people, we're always living on the edge. For creatives, it might even be more on the edge because we tend to think a lot about what we're doing. Our minds are always working overtime. How can I make this better? How can I redo what I've already done? I recorded this song last week, but I've just come up with a new melodic line that sounds better than that one. And I've already published. So you go back to the producer. The producer looks at you as his boss. We need to finish. We need to funga and put this song out there. But you are like, no, Bado, this is a sweeter line we can do to this thing. And meanwhile, you're dealing with pressures. You go home, your wife is like, bro, the landlord was here today. We've not finished paying rent. It's a challenge being faced by everyone, but for a creative, might even be worse because he's not operating on a salary. He's not a curator, for example, at a museum, so he's not getting a salary. He's basing his whatever based on, maybe he got 10 gigs this month, but then this month he doesn't even get 1 gig. So now rent is required. The child falls sick within maybe a week of that. Then you have parents who felt this guy should have been a doctor, not a guitarist. And the guy's like, seriously. And then all these things happen to come to him one day. Then when he's going for his gig, he's mugged on his way home. He loses his guitar, loses his saxophone, loses his phone, loses his laptop. And by the time he's walking through the door, what was originally the house is his sanctuary, his safe space. Kuna makelele inamngojea. Eventually, whether you are male, whether you are female, whether you are, if you're getting pressures, for example, I've just mentioned that from a male's perspective, but imagine now you're a female singer, performer, your husband constantly thinks you're being sweet-talked by men in the bar, you're being whatever.
And that happens because it actually happens.
Yes. And then the men in the bar think that you are loose just because you are an artist. And they pursue you actively. And you have to go home, and you're thinking in your head, by then we've not eaten in our house for 2 or 3 days. If I just said yes and walked away with 10,000 shillings, and there's a bit of that person's soul that it gets lost in those transactions. So the pressures on a creative are there. They can even be more immense. There are those things that are happening around them, and then there are those things that are happening by factors and people around them, and you can find that now to numb the pain, sometimes now you what's the word I'd use? To numb the pain, you reach out, maybe not to other positive influences, but what some may deem as negative influences, to help you cope.
To help you cope.
To help you cope, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. This like no, you know, when you talk about it, I'm just reminded. Okay, there are days I used to do regular gigs.
Yes.
And it's crazy.
Yes.
I don't want to imagine what would have happened if I was still in that space.
Yes.
Now married.
Yes.
And first of all, you've gone to those gigs and you know what happens.
Yes.
So you have that struggle that happens,
Yes.
and you're wondering, okay, why is there lipstick on your shirt?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
why is there... And Koome is just a fan who was just...
A bit too excited, yeah.
To see you.
Yeah, and
right?
and the next thing you know, you're being accused of many things.
Yes. And and then you have to go. I'm just reminiscing. It's just it's all coming back.
Yeah.
And then you have to, like, there's a time I personally didn't know how to do my own makeup.
Yes.
Like I couldn't.
Yes.
And then you have pressure. Someone is telling you have to look good.
Yes.
So that prospective clients can.
Yes.
And I'm like, am I selling myself or am I selling my craft?
Yes.
So you have yourself.
Yes.
And then you have... It's a lot anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you start thinking about it in that way, when you're trying to unpack, you're like,
Yes.
that is so much pressure.
Yeah.
Leave alone your own craft.
Yes.
You're already dealing with your own struggles.
Yes.
Probably you're a church person.
Yes.
You're coming from a church background. I came from a church background.
Yes.
And then I'm being introduced to music that I have heard on radio.
Yes.
And the day my father had it on radio because we were playing it,
Yes.
he was so pissed.
Yes.
Because why are you playing such music in my house?
Yes.
It's the same music you have to come now and do.
Yeah.
So you have all these things happening around you, and I'd really want to probably have a conversation with someone who's not a creative per se and who hasn't had to go through all these things, and just know if the professions are the same.
Yes.
Right? But anyway, is there a monumental time in your life where you came, and even before I continue that question, the 145 booth is not just for women. I know, because most of the time when we talk about mental health and discussing issues, it's the women who talk a lot. We talk. We talk. We can talk.
In fact, it's
and
a good thing women talk.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not because I'm giving you a discussion.
Yes.
I could just meet a friend and I'm ranting about my cat.
Yes.
But deep down, I'm ranting about what's going on in my life.
Yes.
Yeah. So the 145 booth is not just for the women. We are also looking for a place where we can create a safe space for the men as well. We totally appreciate the struggles that men go through.
Yes.
And we have brothers, we have cousins, we have fathers who have grown up in situations where you're told you cannot express yourself because that's a form of weakness.
Yeah.
And maybe to ask, do you think, is there a point of your life where the mental health discussion came alive to you? Like, is there a point where you felt, now this in too specific, and then after that there's a time where you felt, mental health is a discussion I need to have with myself or with everyone else around?
If anyone is ever really honest with themselves, mental health discussion is a discussion you have with yourself on a daily basis. Every moment you wake up, the first question is, why am I getting up?
Yeah.
What's my driving force for getting up today?
Yeah.
Do I really? In fact, normally the first question is, do I really need to get up? You need to start getting worried.
Is it necessary?
Yes.
Should I take a shower?
Exactly. As in, simple basic things, when they become a chore, they have started to lose value or meaning for you. And if for example, you used to wake up at 7 every day to leave the house and go to work, but now you would rather do it at 9 and it doesn't seem to bother you in the slightest. You need to just start a reevaluation as to what your core values are. For me, so that to answer the question is, I have that. It's a mental health is an issue and something I discuss with myself every day. Where are you right now? What space are you in? Do you feel comfortable or uncomfortable enough that you do need to talk to someone about something? And me, I've had a therapist. I still talk to her from time to time.
Yeah, that was my next question, but go on.
Yes, I still talk to her from time to time.
Yeah.
We broach a lot of issues. I mean, I will tell you openly, I am still, my late mom, probably the most important person in my life at some point, right after God and Jesus Christ. Part passed away 10 years ago, and to this day it still hurts, still a painful thing. So we still talk about it with her from time to time as to how that has also affected my perception of things. And her death, sometimes we respond to grief and certain things in different ways and forms. Some of us move into situations a bit faster than we're supposed to, because now we are reacting to a situation that, can we say, we basically found the wrong treatment for the current situation we're undergoing. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah. And these are things that you guys don't easily open up about.
Yes.
You know, I lost someone, and that's, and earlier on, we were just discussing how everyone deals with different trauma differently.
Yes.
Everyone deals with grief differently.
Yes.
And I hope that we can just have open conversations and understand that there are a lot of things that happen to us.
Yes.
That affect how we can be creatives or affect how we live life, and it's totally okay.
Yes.
It's not a form of weakness to talk about your issues. Because a lot of people will tell you, and I've been there, even in situations where you're constantly talking about what you're going through, and it's always either a bother or you're not strong enough to hold on to what needs to be held on to. So as a musician, what are the challenges that we are facing? Well, that feels nice, that we are facing. I'm a musician as well. Ooh, that we are facing.
I think biggest challenge right now is an industry that is, I don't want to say unregulated, but it's, to a large extent, it's like the Wild Wild West in the United States. As in, there are people who have worked so hard to establish themselves and establish relationships and build relationships with clientele and those kind of things. And then you get a crop of upcoming musicians, and this is not a dig towards the upcoming musicians. So please don't hate me.
Please don't.
I'm just saying, who want to get there 10 times faster.
Instant coffee.
Instant. And then the problem is you get a clientele who want to save money. So they don't want to maintain the guys who've been in the game longer, done it, who've been there. And then they get a lot of other younger guys, which is, I guess, I don't mind competition in the industry. It sharpens all of us. So for me, I think a large part of the things that frustrates any creative is our industry already is as unpredictable as it gets. And then now when it becomes even more unpredictable, you can't plan for the future. You can't make savings. You can't, because the gig you had this month has been taken by another artist next month.
Who's charging less.
And so you start asking yourself, so I've been paying rent from this gig for the last 2 years. Now this gig isn't here. How am I going to survive? And then you start asking, like I've said, then other things start mounting. Oh, you've not finished paying school fees. Oh, so and so fell sick this week. Oh, this happened. Oh, the car broke down. And it all comes to you in the same week. That's when you find that guy sitting under a tree talking to himself. You can understand why he's talking to himself. Now, I'm not saying that a creative experiences stressful situations more than everyone else. Because I can imagine a doctor who has basically had 2 surgeries that day, and on the same day has watched 2 patients die, and on the same day basically found his employment is at risk. He has to find another hospital to work at. It can be it is a situation that can push anybody over the edge. But I think for what makes a creative most sad is that his art and his craft are his safe spaces, but even those are not safe anymore. So what do you stand on? What is your pillar? When your pillar has been knocked down, what are you standing on? And if you do not have a support system or something that you can lean on to, you don't be surprised you find a guy is falling into the abyss.
Oh, wow. It's interesting to think about it that way.
Yes.
You've mentioned you do mentorship, right?
Yes.
Are they the same issues that they are experiencing?
To some degree, when you talk to some of the young guys we work with, Most of them at Daystar University. There's a music program there. So we try and talk to them once every 3 months, I guess, once every semester. When you talk to some of them when they are not in class and when they ask you to help them get a gig, help them do a quotation, how do they come up with a value system for their gift that the client will accept, and then also how they will feed themselves from this gift. And most of them, their biggest challenge is, hey, if this doesn't work out, what am I left to do? So for them, we try and tell them, my perspective is that always have more than one, try and have more than one income generating source. As a creative in the Kenyan economy, if you don't have more than one income source, you're probably going through a lot. From the perspective that if they're like now, any industry, the artist industry in Kenya is beginning to get saturated with a lot of talent, all doing the same thing others are doing before them. Why? Because they've seen there's a potential for income generation through these things, and sometimes you don't even need to have put in as much work and as much effort as some of your predecessors, and you're able to get yourself into spaces and environments that allow you to interact with some of the people that you're looking to interact with and create opportunities for yourself. So the competition and the drive for a lot of guys to get to a point whereby, I can self-sustain myself, is ever constant. And these guys, a lot of the young guys are really, really trying to make it while they still have years to enjoy it. They are making it. And it's a pressure on them, because your parents send you to school to be a lawyer, but your passion is to sing. Is to sing or to play the saxophone. And then when you, for example, might not go might ask to defer your law classes for a semester while you pursue your career, your father tells you, I'm not paying school fees for that. I'm paying for you to be a lawyer. I'm paying for you to be a doctor. Those I understand. Hii maneno ya kuimba, na mnaimba hata nini? Mnaimba wapi? Na inalipa pesa ngapi? So when success is equated to the number of cows or the number of Range Rovers and the house you drive, that already puts a pressure on you that if I don't succeed in this, but then what if you don't succeed in your practicing of law? You find the market is also full with too many lawyers, all chasing the same contracts, all chasing the same clients. And what is your plan B? What is your support system? When I started playing saxophone in high school way back in
19
yes, actually it was in 1995. I just joined what I call the greatest high school on God's green earth, St. Mary's, Nairobi. Our music teacher then, Mr.
You even remember the name?
Yes, Mr. William Obaga.
Hey.
Yes, quite a character. Mr. William Obaga came to class and told us one day, some of you will be doctors, some of you will be lawyers, some of you will own big businesses, some of you won't. But if all of you learn an instrument here and now and live with it and play it all that time, if you lose your job, you can still do something that allows you to make money and feed your family. Some of us never took it to heart, that's exactly what we'd end up doing. Look at me now.
Look at you now.
Almost 30 years later. So been playing professionally for over 20 of those years. So his words, I can even tell you that the music sometimes actually is what acts as a subsistence to the other ventures I do. For example, when I want to go show a piece of property to a client in the middle of Naivasha, the money to hire the vehicle and the driver to take us there came from a gig I did 2 weeks prior. So again, finding support systems for what you're going through, because there's always going to be a shortfall. Something interesting someone told me is that you will never be ever, in any relationship or in any situation, you'll never be 100% of everything. So you need to have things in place that fill in the gaps in between. Yeah.
All right. So what was one of your monumental highlights when it came to the mental health space? I know you mentioned your mom.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, sorry for that. I can't.
Yes.
Like, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
How someone would live with that.
Yes.
So there's the death of your mom. Is there any other two monumental experiences that you've had that could actually say this was a monumental mental health time for me? That you would easily talk about?
When I mentioned earlier, physical, emotional, spiritual, and maybe say financial well-being are normally, can we say, foundational in someone's own mental strength and ability, because we use those as pillars to gauge how strong you are. But now when you lose, you start losing emotional, passing of my mom, then the following year, for example, you are diagnosed with, you literally died in the hospital bed at Nairobi Hospital, complications of diabetes. Had to be dialysis, and then since then you've been literally injecting yourself daily, taking countless tablets. I think I am a walking pharmacy, literally, if you were to gauge how many tablets I've taken over the last 10 or 12 years. And this thing just keeps coming one year after the other. And then, so in that time, I can say my physical health, I have had maybe 6 or 7 operations. Well, some of them, you can't look at 3 of them as operations, really. But I've had 3 operations to fix maybe even nerves in my hands as complications of the diabetes. One to repair damage to a knee because the knee was just swelling, the leg was just swelling. And then now to be in a case whereby you have to watch what you eat, you have to watch what you do, you have to take medication just so that you can function. You can wake up and do what you need to do, to a point whereby you even ask yourself, Yani, is it ever that serious? Do I really want to get up today? That extra challenge, sometimes some of us, we take the ability to wake up without having to worry about our physical health for granted. But when that is taken away from you, how then do you handle it mentally? Because it is a challenge. So you end up having, if you're like me, you end up having a lot of conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
You end up talking a lot to yourself, telling you know what, if you don't wake up and do this, no one is going to do it for you.
No one is going to do it for you.
So you find yourself becoming your biggest cheerleader. You have to learn how to encourage yourself, because for certain, even if you have family, your family are not, their sole purpose in life is not to take care of you. They are also experiencing other things in their own spaces.
Oh, that's a reality.
Yes. And so you have to find a place and a space where you're comfortable with yourself, comfortable with what you're going through, and develop, I don't want to say a mental toughness, because it make it sound like it's an easy thing to do.
It's not.
Develop a layer of insulation, and also develop the ability to tell yourself, ikiwa mbaya ni mbaya, unajikaza tu. And it's not that you're being negligent to the fact that you do need to cry from time to time. It's not being negligent to be to the fact that you need someone to listen to you from time to time.
Yeah.
But the wisdom is knowing when that phase of your life comes, and then knowing who to talk to and who to call, and being brave enough to do that, and being vulnerable to someone or to people enough to allow them into a space to help you.
All right.
Yes.
So I know in what we've talked about so far, you've definitely talked about how it has basically affected your creativity.
Yes.
But if I may just ask specifically, around the same time, because you've said you've been playing the saxophone for a very long time, and all these things are happening in the middle of your creativity. All these things are happening when, it's not just you waking up one morning and you're able to play the saxophone. There's a lot that goes into practice. There's a lot that goes into understanding it. How did it affect how you processed your creativity, how you probably thought about your riffs, how you thought about your notes, how you thought about going for gigs? How did it affect you?
I basically, for me, push myself harder. Some people, some creatives would paint an artwork to reflect their emotional state. Some would write songs. I think for me, it is just to numb the pain. I think being a workaholic is more or less my response to whatever. Oh, you're going to come at me with this. It's okay. I'll work 10 times harder at being better than I am. So my reaction to a lot of those things is, okay, so you're basically telling me that I'm not going to gig more. It's okay. I'll work hard at finding 10 other gigs. I will find, you're telling me I can't do as much music as like, no, it's okay. I'll work hard at recording 10 more songs. Experiment with 10 different projects. Go out there and try and do 10 different things other musicians are not doing. My response normally is, the more you tell me I can't do this, the more I want to do it as that child. Don't touch the matches.
Oh, what does this do?
Really? So if I set fire to, or don't drive the car. So if I take the key and put it in the ignition and turn, I won't run over the neighbor's fence. By the way, I actually did that at the age of 3. So
3?
Yes. Yeah. So I am. It is in me and a creative in the nature to find out why. If you tell me don't do this, why? But of course, when you get older, sometimes you are a bit more, you are attentive to when you're told, don't do this.
Don't do this.
Sawa. Okay, I won't. But naza jaribu kidogo tu nione. Yeah, so it has affected my, I don't know, I think I can say I become more particular about what I do, how I go about it. Try and be more professional when you're doing some things. If you're interacting with clients, try to make sure you give them more value than what they would expect.
Yeah.
But again, it's about me pushing my own boundaries. Maybe some may say I'm trying to overcompensate for maybe some shortcomings I might see in myself. There is a possibility in that. But for me, it's just about pushing myself harder. Do I look at myself slowing down at some point? I'm already seriously contemplating slowing down.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 45 now. You can only push yourself to a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then did it... a lot of what we go through doesn't just affect us.
Yes.
It affects everyone who's around us.
Yes.
And probably that's one of the things that we need to be aware of.
Yes.
Yeah, we cannot live... I don't say a selfish life, but we need to understand that every action that we are putting into place affects someone else in one way or another.
Yes.
How did it affect the people around you? Like what you've been going through, away from the cause of the mental space that you were in?
Yes.
Just how you were able to handle it and how you just probably felt what you felt at that point. Did it affect your relationships, and in what way?
I think when we are all faced with challenges, everyone has an idea about how best to treat that challenge.
Yeah.
Everyone is a doctor when you're going through a condition. When you have a headache, take mara moja, drink water. My grandmother told me if you smoke this thing, you'll be fine. And everyone has a perception as to that they have the best idea or best solution for your course of treatment and what is best for you and the best way that you can fix your problems.
Yeah.
Everyone around you, I think for me, I can say the people around me had, if you have, for example, my sister would probably recommend, go see this professional. And there is what I say. There is proof in the pudding that, when you go see the professional, maybe the professional sees something you don't see because they are looking at it from a perspective whereby they're not necessarily attached to you emotionally or in any way. For him, he's doing his job.
Yeah.
Or she's doing her job. So they have been trained to pick up on certain cues. If you, for example, your eyes are too red or they're a bit yellow, they can already suspect. They look at your fingernails and already suspect there's possibly something underlying.
Yeah.
So they even know already what kind of test to tell you to go for. And sometimes it's good to trust those opinions, because they might preempt a situation that now becomes a lot worse, and by that time there's very little that can be done about it.
Yeah, true.
The thing is to recognize that I need this help, and am I willing to get it? And if I'm willing to get it, then I also should be willing to accept the prescribed course of treatment.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest challenge for us is hoping that the person who's doing it is actually knows what they're doing, and not a quack. And then they lead you down an even darker path than where you're already going. Yeah.
All right. So in that whole space, did music heal? Did music help?
Oh, it does.
Listening to other people's stuff.
Oh, it does. Music is life, is therapy. For me, it is even when I need to cry and I and I don't want to see anyone while I'm doing it. Music helps me get to that point. Relieve stress, relieves frustrations, and sometimes when you don't want even to talk to people, the music you listen to talks about you. And sometimes there are people who are actually discerning and close enough in your life that they can hear what you're listening to. Your roommates, they know this guy where he is right now. We need to. It's a cry for help. We need to intervene right now. Music is always going to be. Our friend used to say, music is our mother and our father. Is always going to be. Can I say a godparent to me in many ways, shapes and forms. It is always going to be a go-to place for a lot of things. Helping me recenter, refocus, deal with some issues. But yeah.
Does it get easier, Jackson? Does it get easier? Is there a point where
I think that is $1 million question.
Hey.
Is it always going to be like this? Let me just be, from my perspective, it's just this way. There are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. What you learn to do is to become better at managing how you respond to them. There's never going to be a permanent cure to the challenges we face. There's only one solution, according to me, and that solution is building a relationship with Jesus Christ. And then when he calls you home, go to the land of milk and honey and golden streets. That is the only permanent solution. But if you live on this earth and you exist in this earth, there's always going to be A, B, C, D that will always come your way.
Yeah.
What we need to understand is to become better at how we respond to those challenges, and not better at how we handle, not better at hiding the stresses of those challenges. Yes,
it's true.
Because a lot of us, that is what we become very good at, masking and hiding the issues we are dealing with. And when things become too heavy, because automatic answer to every question, how are you doing? I'm fine. It's automatic. We don't even think about it. We don't even. None of us will tell you, hey, but honestly, bro, I think me, I'm about to jump off a building. No one will ever, very few people will ever tell you, honestly, I'm about to jump off a building. How are you doing? I'm okay. It's when after you pour out a while, you say, but unajua, bro, there's that thing. But automatically, how are you doing? I'm okay. And even there you say that, okay, someone can just tell this guy, no, he's not fine. But even me, I'm not sure I want to carry your headache and my headache. So I leave you at you are fine. Because if I start hearing what you're telling me, on top of what, I'm like, no. I don't even know how to help you, because me, myself, this is what I'm going through. Yes.
There's that default one for nashukuru.
I'm grateful. Yes. Mungu ni mwema. Mungu ni mso. But in reality, I don't even really see this God, but he's mwema. He's there.
Yeah, he's there. Yes. That's what we've grown up knowing. He's there. There's something my mom always used to tell us when we were growing up.
Yes.
And at that time we were like, this lady,
reflex answers.
I mean, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And she used to say, troubles in this world will never stop.
Yes.
It'll be one trouble after another. You get money, you have to pay bills with it.
Yes.
You pay bills with it, something happens that destroys the house. Something like there will always be a problem happening in our lives, and we need to be okay with that fact that you will never be completely okay. Like every aspect of your life is working out fine. And we're just talking with a therapist, and she, Jennifer Chalo, and she was telling us how we need to learn how to separate the trauma from the traumatic event. Like we need to separate ourselves from the event and what it makes us feel, so that now we don't keep blaming the same issue over and over again. So we know this is what it made me feel. And sometimes it doesn't have to affect us in any way or another. And it's also good to accept when it has affected you in one way or another. So in terms of the mental health space and the creative industry, how do you think we are doing? Do you think we're faring on well, especially knowing that, I mean, how can you be stressed out and you're in the creative industry and you can let it out via writing and you can let it out by doing a script? You know, people who have committed suicide and they were creatives, they were always smiling and they were always laughing. Robin Williams, I mean, it's one of, I don't know why he stood out so much for me. And then there's Jim Carrey. I think I don't know. No, let me not mention that because I'm not very sure. But with Robin Williams, he's one of those people you go to when you want to watch a comedy. You want to, and that's, I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire. Who would have thought that he would fall into such a place? So probably it's for us. There's that thing. Even when you go tell your folks you're not okay, they tell you, but you're a musician. You do this every day. You should run to those. I mean, other people are running to your product to feel better. Why don't you do the same? So do you think the creative industry and not just musicians, I mean, everyone who's a creative, do you think we are faring on well with the mental health discussion?
I think maybe the biggest challenge with this is when the topic of mental health becomes an activity to acquire donor funding for your NGO. Because then the focus stops being about the well-being of the person, but the well-being of my organization and funding it. And then that also takes away the focus from how do we better come up with programs that benefits the people who this is meant to be for. Many artists are in many spaces whereby the challenges of life are always going to come and confront them. What are the avenues that we are creating that these guys can now then go and discuss these issues? Apart from podcasts, what other ways can we put together that guys can sit down and actually discuss these things? Is government coming in at some point to actually sponsor this? When they say mental health, is it just a nice way of finding a way to get money from Sarkal? And then once the money comes, they just handpick a few guys from Kenya National Theatre, take them to a session somewhere, seminar somewhere, teach them? Or is it just the Minister for Sports and Culture who will attend with several invited guests?
And a few flags.
And then when that is all said and done, at the end of the day, how has that filtered down to the creative who this whole program was meant to be for? And those are the questions we need to ask ourselves as people in that space. When I want to speak on or make it a better situation for my fellow creatives, what are we doing together as creatives in that space? And then sometimes as creatives we need to stop thinking that this creative is out to get me, but this creative is actually trying to figure out a way to help. We need to allow each other to help each other. So I think we need to stop too much lobbying and actually get down to the nitty-gritty of the work. For example, we have a mental health facility called Madare Referral Hospital. What is the accessibility for not just creatives but people who are in general I call them unsafe spaces? What is the criteria for having easy accessibility to counselors, people they can talk to in that space? Are there enough training programs for mental health practitioners out there so that they can better cater for a growing whatever? If there are those who do it privately, and you have facilities like is it called Amani services with Dr. Frank Jenga, how easily accessible are these facilities to other people? Is government sponsoring programs whereby it allows for the professionals who are there to talk to people, to train others, so that they can make it from not just because in Africa, community-based development is actually where it is when you're getting to the root of most of these challenges. What programs do we have in place to help those people on the ground? What kind of training facilities are there for the people on the ground? And if those things are not in place from that ground level, really, this is only a discussion that's happening in certain NGO offices, in certain facilities, maybe at the United Nations, or in certain branches of the EU here and other projects here in Kenya. How does it filter down to the guy on the ground? If it doesn't filter down to me, then of what use is this discussion being held?
Yeah, true.
So if the guy at the top of the food chain is whatever is having a discussion, his mental health is fine, but now he's discussing how to help someone who's down the food chain, and that food doesn't transition down to that guy. It's a waste of time, energy, and resources in the wrong things.
Yeah.
So I think we need to become more invested in creating spaces and places where guys can actually train more people who are sensitive to mental health issues, so they can help pick out these things, and when they pick them out faster, are able to refer them to places whereby they can actually get treatment. And treatment si ile tu dunga mse shindano and then atulie ache kusumbua watu. And because sometimes you might find all someone needed to be done was actually have someone listen to him and understand. Listen to him, listen to her, and understand. Sometimes that's all someone is looking for. Who can I talk to? Who can listen? Try and understand where I'm coming from, and maybe give me a word of advice about what I need to do. Sometimes that conversation alone could be 10, 20, 30 minutes, could save someone's life.
True.
Could be the difference between someone deciding, you know what, I have no way out of this situation.
Yeah.
And sometimes, so when you hear it's like when you see somebody acting out maybe on Instagram or TikTok, and then that video goes viral, and then someone who's doing shows decides, hey, by the way, let me help this guy. It's sad that is where it has had to get to for that person to actually get help. Because it means some people have been watching this guy going through this journey, and they're just like, hey, it's not my problem.
It's not my problem.
Since me, I'm okay. Wacha huu mse mwingine aingie, and this guy has got money, has got resources. But if this guy is only able to help one guy at a time, and yet you have an entire system that's meant to help an entire nation in place, and it's not doing its bit as well. You know, it's some of those things that are just, it's sad to watch resources being allocated for things and then them not being used for those things, and then people wonder why the system is failing.
Yes. So as creatives, I know we might, I don't know, there's the stigma for mental health is still there.
Yes.
And I know I hope that this is a space where we can even call in people who are able to stand with people who are not probably even able to afford a therapist in the first place.
Yes.
You have gone to a therapist, so you know how this works.
Yes.
Do you think there's a possibility that we are able to create little booths where we are able to create a space where before gig yanze, ama ikiisha, let's sit down.
Yes.
My brother, let's come together and have a discussion. Uko aje? Uko na food?
Yes.
Uko na this and this and this.
Yeah.
How is, I know sometimes getting into the personal issues sometimes can feel like you're encroaching into the wrong places.
Yes.
But do you think there's a space that creatives can create for that? Are they there?
Yes. I think what I have a friend, we do a lot of gigs together, and he once told me, you know, I didn't appreciate what it is like to run a band until you have your own. And it is because we were discussing, he was looking at the financial challenges, and you sometimes, you know, your band may think you're denying them money.
Yeah.
But they sometimes don't realize clients don't pay or they pay late. But you still have to find money to pay them some way, somehow. So that becomes a burden on you. But people don't understand that logic until the day they have a band, the client refuses to pay them. And then now they understand what it's like to be harassed by 10 different musicians. Where's our money? You've stolen our money.
And they're texting you day and night.
Day and night.
Even
Then,
in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And someone is in the middle like, Nani text.
Oh, yes. And so now they get it. I think it is about learning to appreciate, maybe like you said, create a safe space whereby we as a band can sit down and talk to each other.
Yeah.
Talk about all that we're doing. Okay, me, I'm not doing well. These are my challenges. These are my issues. This is what I'm going through. Is there a way we as your bandmates can come through for you? Okay, and be comfortable enough as a band to be willing to do that for each member.
Yeah.
Of your, because you guys are technically a family. Si shida mtu mmoja ni shida nyi wote, because if this guy doesn't, the sad thing is if this guy doesn't execute, he loses the job. You guys will find another musician to replace him.
Yeah.
The new guy might have to learn a lot of new things very quickly, but it is such a cutthroat society that we don't mind leaving our brethren, our fallen brethren behind. And
dissing them in the
process. And then we go laugh about it later. If the situation seems too much for us to whatever, we don't want to help them. It is sad because there are other situations where you hear other musicians coming through for other musicians, particularly when one passes away, and they do fundraisings and they come together and they raise money, they do concerts, and with all the proceeds going to the family, to help them. It's a good thing, and it is the right spirit of community spirit, but that sometimes in cases whereby you're dealing with mental health challenges, the community spirit would have been really helpful if you started when you first noticed this guy is going through something. Sometimes it doesn't even require much. Okay, sometimes it's just like, dude, are you okay? No, and we hope that he's open enough to say, by the way, I'm actually going through this. I can't do this, because I think when we became what is called, there's a term that is used to describe the over-commercialization of a society that has been brought on by the West. I will remember the term, I'll use it.
Okay.
But there was a time when African society, your neighbor cannot go hungry if you have excess crops. And those are the kind of things. You hear your neighbor, the husband lost or the father lost a job. His kids are your kids' friends. Yeah. Surely.
True.
All the kids in the estate know this guy. Okay? The parents come together and they said, you know what? We know rent for your house is like 30,000-40,000. We are all the parents have come together. We've raised 500,000, so at least your rent is catered for the entire year. Yeah. Okay? Now what you guys just need to do is find how to survive from day to day. School fees, we have also come together, we've raised this money as a community, we made sure the kids are fine. When the year is over and the man has gotten another job, tell me how he will not contribute to the next time that happens to another member in that society. Yeah. It just starts with simple things like that, whereby it's no longer a man-eat-man society, but let's help. Let's sometimes stepping in, because sometimes you wonder why this guy has not been seen the whole day. The guy is going to sit under a tree to try and figure out where the solution to this problem is coming from. And yet he has a whole estate of friends who are all employed earning a salary. And there's a time we used to joke how where you go to sometimes a rich guy to ask for help. He tells you, yes, but he's willing to buy you a round of drinks at the bar. Yeah,
it's true. That used to happen.
So you start asking yourself, so if your friends are willing to buy you alcohol to help you forget, and they're not willing to help you pay the debt, you need to examine your friends closely. Because your friends should say, okay, while we're buying you drinks, let's discuss a financial plan, how we can help you sort this out. To bring the guy over, we say we'll be changaing 20-30K per month until tumalizane na his story, and then we figure out a solution to help you maybe come up with a sustainable business that can help generate consistent income and help you move to the next level. It's I think the what I'm just basically hinting at is coming up with ways of supporting each other, support structures. Be your best friend, be your brother's keeper. Yeah, sometimes just asking and finding out how they're doing, and then finding out how you can get involved in helping. we all accept your different phases and different positions in life. I might not have 100,000, but I might have 500 bob.
500 bob.
And if my neighbor has another 5k, and we suddenly help you, and and eventually, and then think about what that does to the kids, what it teaches them, and because when you teach them that sense of community spirit, as the Bible says, teach a young man in the way he should go, and he will not depart from that path. You start from there, and then you'll wonder why you'll be very appreciative as to why your kid is always helping others. Why others? Because he has seen the value of helping others. People have helped his father, and by extension, he has been helped. So he sees now the value of doing that. And when that keeps to bring forth and keep growing, you'll see communities and lives changed. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Jackson.
Yes.
This is a discussion we could carry on to the
Very true.
Because I haven't still asked you what's your story.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
it might
gosh.
be too big. Yeah, Jackson, there's a lot. There's a lot that is unpacked.
Yes.
And as I said, I haven't still asked you what's your story so that we can get into it. Yeah, but just an ask.
Yes.
Is it possible that because you have so much that we cannot even we can't finish talking about in the episode.
Yes.
And there's so much that you clearly have gone through. Like anyone who's listening to your story, I'm sure they're like, yo, what has this guy been through? Because most of the time, hata tukipatiwa character development, we never really know the magnitude of how the development was, but
Yes.
you can always see the fruit.
Yes.
And you can hear what someone is saying and the experiences and how they live their life.
Yes.
And how, it has happened, let's move on.
Yes.
So the traumatic experiences stop being too traumatic to you at
Yes.
first.
Yes.
So maybe as you move on, basically. So maybe just to ask, because every guest who's coming to our show, we are trying as much as possible to tell you that it's a safe space, first of all. So do you think you can be a part of our safe space? Like if someone needs to reach out to you, if someone needs to talk to you, do you feel like you have the capacity to even so mentor other people who are not in this university?
If I can share whatever little knowledge the Lord has blessed me with anyone, I'll be glad to. If there's I have no problem with that. We're all going through things, and we try and help each other where we can. So if my story or aspects of my story can help anyone in any way, shape, or form, I'll be glad to.
How can we reach you? You don't have to give us your number if that's not comfortable.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. YouTube, on any of those platforms. You just find me, Jackson Monala, and those are the search names. But you just find me, send me a DM, drop your number, and if I can help, I'll be glad to help.
All right. What is that burning thing that I haven't asked you that you would like to tell creatives, and basically anyone who's listening? It doesn't have to be a creative, because so far we are understanding that mental health issues are not specific to creatives.
Yes.
We just have different experiences with different reactions. But of course now for our experiences might be different from what everyone else is experiencing who are not creatives. What's that one thing that your heart feels like you need to say before we wind up?
Possibly, I think the one thing I'd say is find a safe space, number one. Number two, find a support system. And then clearly identify what your pillars are, what keep you upright, and then find out what would happen if you lost them. Then you'll truly learn who and the definition of who you are and what kind of character you are.
Yeah.
And then maybe it will help you start figuring out, this is where I need to get my support from. Because when those pillars are taken away, what else do you have? And for me, I would probably tell you, if you don't have Christ in your life, there already you have a big problem, or big problems too. So probably recognize that God is there, and recognize that you do need God in your life.
You do. And
you do need a support system. And there's no better support system than the God who hears and knows and does all.
Yeah.
So I think the most burning thing I'll tell people is, find out what your support structure is, and if it was taken away, what would happen. And if that support structure is not Jesus Christ, then quickly find a way to get Jesus Christ as your support system.
Yeah, and also just this came to me where I know a lot of us have been betrayed.
Yes.
A lot of us have been betrayed, and a lot of us have asked, which church is this you're talking about?
Yes.
Because, I mean, Christ and his church.
Yes.
He left us with his church to
Yes.
be the support system that we can get.
Yes.
And I know a lot of us have been hurt by the church.
Yes.
So many of us.
Yes.
Like, when the church hurts is a
Yes.
hashtag. I
Yes.
think we'd have as many stories as
Yes.
we can get.
In fact,
right?
it's the reason some people are in therapy right now.
Yeah, unfortunately. And so it's also maybe important to acknowledge
Yes.
that in as much as we look at the church to be the support system,
Yes.
the church is made up of messed up
People. Oh yeah. I see.
we are all not perfect.
Yeah, I think to qualify it, I'm saying when I say the church, I'm referring to Christ-like people.
Yeah, there's a difference.
There's a big difference.
There's a huge difference.
And people need to understand that distinction. There are those people that we are told the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. We also need to understand the devil was at one time in God's presence, and he was a leader of God's worship. So, that said, there are forces within the church structure that are not exactly Christ-like in nature, and being attached to them will actually take you further away from him than actually towards him. So my suggestion would be is to find a Christ-like church with Christ-like leadership, so that when your mentorship is coming, it is Christ-like and Christ-based mentorship. So that, because the target is not to be a Christian, but to be like Christ. I don't know, I think some people have a problem with that definition. But to be, because Christian is a general, nowadays is looked at as a religious denomination. As a cluster of people. Just because we say we follow Jesus Christ, we are Christians. No. To avidly say I follow Jesus Christ means you are Christ-like in a lot of your... You're meant to be Christ-like in every aspect of your life. But I understand for all of us, it's a work in progress. None of us is perfect. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But our purpose is to recognize that we can go back to him. We can ask for forgiveness. And in our going back to him, learn from the mistakes we've made and try our best not to make them again, and be better. Not just to ourselves, but to those around us, so that everyone else is basically benefiting from. And when they see the radiance and the Christ in us, they want to find the same Christ and then grow from that. True. And be better themselves.
True.
Yeah.
Jackson.
Yes.
Asante. If I ask one more question,
yes,
we shall be here for another eternity. So thank you so much. And also sharing your story cannot be easy.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know if I personally want to sit down and just hear your journey, and just I know it's not possible to talk about everything and just lay it out here, but thank you for the much that you have been able to give us, and
thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's so much that people are able to get, because mental health is not one of those discussions you just wake up and say today is a good day to tell people what I'm going through. But thank you. And I'm so sorry for your experiences. I'm so sorry for the loss of your mom and for your health as well. And all we can wish you is the best from here.
Thank you.
And even as you continue with the healing journey, just know that we are here for you as well. We are a safe space where we can just keep talking and having these discussions. And there's something I always notice, that every time you're not in a right space, somehow God sends you someone who's able to help be in a better space as well. So I pray that God will keep giving you the strength to share what you're going through and to share with someone who needs that mentorship. And even though it's not on a public platform, I pray that God is able to bring you so many other people that you're able to work with. Thank you so much, Jackson, for telling us your story. I hope that we can keep you as a safe space for the 145 booth.
No problem.
So we'll keep calling you.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening. If you're here for the first time, this is the 145 booth. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the conversations that we are having on our social media platforms. If you haven't followed us yet, please make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook at the 145 booth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at 145 booth, and also remember we are on Spotify and every other streaming platform that you would prefer your podcast listened to. Thank you so much for joining us today, and until the next time, this is the 145 booth.